All right. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of my weekly GEMP game review series. I am your host, Chris Gogolin. Thank you for joining us. I'll give everybody a few seconds, make sure everybody get logged in and switched over if they were watching, happen to be watching that Team Covenant Star Wars CCG broadcast today. Those guys are known for playing some of the other card games. I first encountered them playing the Star Wars LCG, but I think they were also pretty big with the Destiny game as well. And they have their own gaming shop and stuff down in Texas or Oklahoma, I think I heard. Um, they were streaming Star Wars CCG today, which was pretty cool. But as anyone who's an experienced Star Wars player would know, watching people who primarily play other games try and play Star Wars after not having played it in 10, 15, 20 years, it can be a little painful, and some of the comments may have reflected that. So we're going to get started here with our show. Thank you for tuning in, and let's get caught up on what's going on in the Star Wars CCG world. So pop over to the quick forums. Not a lot happening here right now. The next set is in play testing mode, and they hope to, finalize the last round of play testing within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Figure out the remaining cards that will be released in the upcoming set, get those over to proofing, and then have a rough draft list, spoiler list, if you will, published here in early March. Chris Kelly was just over on the Holo Theater show talking with Dan and Jerry about that. I'm still superior? Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. I guess you're listening at work today. Um, so they were just talking about that on their show last week, and we got some information from Chris about that. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check that out. That'll get moved over to YouTube if it hasn't been already. Um, but that should be coming out here in about a month. So that'll leave everybody about a month before the Match Play Championships to do some play testing, make some deck adjustments and whatnot, because that is our next major event. Still coming up here 2 months from today. Will be April 17th. That is the Match Play Championships, New Brunswick, New Jersey. All the sign up information is right in here. The hotel booking link is right here in this big special thread that says hotel booking link. Um, Apparently, some people missed that, but it is right there in its own separate thread. The group rate is only locked in until March 17th, which is 1 month from today. So you have, it's a short month because it's February. So you have a little under 30 days to go ahead and get that booked. Otherwise, you may end up having to pay the standard rate or whatever, Travelocity, Expedia, Orbitz, whatever discount rate you can find there. But it will probably still end up being more than the $115, I think, is the group rate for that night. So go ahead and make sure you click this link here to book and reserve your room. The rooms are only blocked off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. If you are coming into town early, you'll have to book those nights separately. You can talk to the people at the front desk to make sure so you don't have to switch rooms. They might be able to accommodate you with that, but you will have to make a separate booking for Thursday nights if you're getting into town a little early. Currently, 26 of the 64 slots are filled. Still plenty of time for you guys to sign up and come and attend. Still quite a few familiar names missing from this list. So I expect as we get closer, I should actually update this. Let's go ahead and change this. What did I say? The 29th? I think that's what I said there. March 29th, yeah. So you got till March 29th is the absolute deadline to sign up, unless, of course, all 64 slots are filled before then. But that gives us time to do the brackets the following weekend and get them out to the public, and they'll have approximately 2 weeks to go ahead and do that and prepare for your matchups and things like that. So make sure everybody knows about that coming up here. That's 6-ish weeks away. So you should know by now. You should be putting your requests in for work time off and booking your flights and all that to make sure you get optimal pricing on that kind of stuff, because now is when you start getting into that window where prices start going up instead of starting to go down, because you're getting closer and closer to the deadline. Always my favorite event of the year. Can't say it enough. If you haven't been to it, you definitely want to try. Try to come attend. Don't be scared about the format. If you get eliminated in the main event bracket, there's a second consolation tournament for that you can jump into and compete in. Whether it will be a Swiss tournament or a bracket tournament will depend on what our sign-up numbers look like in terms of buys and things like that. We try to avoid that. Make sure everybody has an opportunity to play as many games as possible. You've got a team event on Friday night. You definitely have a 6-game Swiss tournament on Sunday. So plenty of opportunities to play Star Wars throughout the whole weekend, even if you happen to get eliminated in the early rounds. Sometimes there's a late afternoon Saturday sealed deck event that pops up. So don't be worried about, oh, I flew all this way and I got eliminated in the first round and now I'm just sitting here with my thumb up my butt wondering what I'm going to do. There are plenty of other opportunities to play Star Wars throughout the weekend. But speaking of NPCs, the online GEMPC has been going on now for a little while. This has been run by the Batmouse, and still plenty of first game matches either left to be played or he just hasn't had time to update the bracket from what's happened over the weekend. I know this game happened over the weekend. So we may just have a few results left to fill in, but there's still, these guys have already played their round number 2. Coffee Pass moving on to the Sweet 16 already. Well, we're still waiting on plenty of results from round number 1 still, so hopefully we'll get the rest of these. Fill in some blanks. Oh, and Dylan also moving on. Dylan with the upset over Plagueis and then taking out Huge as well. So into the Sweet 16. So we got another Cinderella story here in the makings. Hopefully Kevin didn't have to forfeit that matchup. I do understand there's some heavy rains and flooding in Wales. I'm not sure if that's anywhere near where he is because my geography is limited. But I don't know exactly where Kevin lives. I'm sure I could figure it out if I wanted to. But hopefully he was able to actually play and focus and not have to like evacuate his family or anything and concede the matchup or something. So this is going on here. This will probably take another few weeks to finish up. This will probably finish up right about the time of the actual NPC. But it's certainly good practice for a lot of the guys playing. A nice little warm up. Get the brain working and thinking about match play scenarios and how all that will work. Getting used to that format, playing with the differential, trying to grind out those extra few cards. So thanks to Batmouse for putting this together, and good luck to everyone who still has matchups left to play. The first round ends later this week. I think it's only good through like the 20th. So these guys only have 2 or 3 days left to get their games in if they haven't already. Looks like a majority of them, but there's still a handful still out there. The other thing, of course, going on is the online championship series. We've been talking about that for a while. That's been off and running. Let's take a quick look at the old leaderboard. Jared Napolitano still sitting at the top with his 11-1, 10-2, 9-3. Joe right there at 29. That's 9-2. He can get to 10-2, but with his win percentage being slightly lower, that he still would be behind Gavin. Tom's here at 9-0. Low win percentage, doesn't have a lot of room for error, but if he keeps picking up wins, you may not necessarily need those. This is only a tiebreaker, so if you win all 12 games, who cares what your opponent's win percentage is? What are the odds that 3 people would go 12-0 in a month? That's pretty slim. We've only seen, I can probably count on one hand the number of people who have gone 12-0 in a given month in the 2 years that we've done this, the 15 months that we've done this. There's probably only been 4 or 5 12-0s. So certainly a difficult task to run the table. And still some other people here who are still in contention. B-Fred, 7-1. Looking to make a run here. These guys are all 6-1. Paul, Nick, Justin. They could certainly still finish out the month strong. And then everybody else down here still has too many games and stuff left to play. Paul's 5-0. Chris is 5-0. But they've got some ground to make up here in only about 10 days, 12 days with which to get these remaining games in. As far as the streamers go, let's see. Queso Sauce 1-0. Dan is 2-1, so Dan's got the lead on Queso. So Jerry better quit slacking off and get some games in here, otherwise he's going to fall behind, and Dan's going to pull ahead. So I don't think Tom and I are in this little side bet. I think it's just these two guys from the uh, SWCCG Hollow Theater and their little friendly rivalry about who's going to finish higher in the OCS. Uh, just by sheer volume, I think my money would have to go on Dan because I think Dan's more likely to play more games throughout the 7 months than Jerry is. So even if Dan plays 70 games and loses half of them, he's going to end up with way more points than Jerry will because Jerry's going to play like 40 games, I think, over the course of the whole period. So I guess Queso's going to have to play some more games just to prove me wrong. I'm going to compete with the might of Team Covenant. Yeah. Maybe at other card games they might be considered mighty. And the Star Wars CCG universe, did you watch any of that game today? That was painful. I watched about 5 minutes and just listening to them try and discuss the rules and everything that they thought they knew. It was, yeah, I think they played probably, oh, 2.5 hours just to play one game. And it was like Death Star 2 starter decks, or the equivalency. I'm looking at the cards they had on the table. So, um, yeah. So enough of those guys. Hopefully they're tuning in. They can pick up some good tips on what current Star Wars CCG looks like, and if they need some help with a future podcast or about a show, there are certainly plenty of experienced Star Wars CCG players that they could call on to give them some rules advice. But OCS still running through here through the 29th, 12 days left, like I said. Still time to sign up for this month and the future months. You can buy the season pass for the low, low price of $50. That gives you 2 months free if you buy it now. If you wait, you'll get 1 month free. Depending on when you buy it, if you buy it next month, because it's $10 a month or $50 for the whole thing. So the longer you wait, the less bonus you get. So go ahead and get that signed up through the PC store, and we'll get you added to the league, and you can finish ahead of these people who haven't played any games yet. So that's what's going on. Let's see if there's any live action games going on that would be worthwhile to watch. This playtesting game, I'm sure, would be very interesting to watch, but that one we can't stream. Sorry, guys. Doesn't look like there's much else. We got some Premier New Hope sealed. WAP versus Watto. Oh, Kevin's online and playing, so I guess he didn't get flooded out. So awesome to hear that. Jerry's too busy with League of Legends. Well, whatever excuse Jerry wants to give. I mean, I don't really. That's up to him. When he's the one wearing the Steelers jersey or the Flyers jersey, or I'm sorry, Penguins jersey. Yes, because it's a hockey thing. So when he's the one, wearing a Pittsburgh jersey of some kind, because at Worlds or whatever, because he lost to Dtartag in the OCS. Well, he's only gonna have himself to blame. I need to see if they'll need to poach the Destiny peeps. Yeah, well, if they want to broadcast, that would certainly that's entirely up to them. I mean, obviously, if they're looking for a Star Wars game with an active and vibrant community who's, looking to add new players, we are more than happy to accept them. And we have a great way to play online for free, so those people don't get suckered into buying another slew of Fantasy Flight games just to have the game be canceled in about 3 years, so that they can then recycle it into their next license and print their another game that'll last for 3 or 4 years, and then that they can continue just to keep recycling them. Whereas our game is free to play online from the comfort of your own home. But I was hoping maybe we'd get some interesting games here in the lobby. Well, we'll move into our featured game of the week, and we'll circle back to the lobby afterwards and see if there's anything worth watching here. Our game of the week is submitted to us from Dan Tartaglione. Dan has been streaming his GEMPC games that he took place over the weekend. I know Dan lost his first game by 27. I thought maybe this was the link that he had sent me. Maybe he was looking for some pointers as to how to lose by less than 27 in a future matchup. But he actually sent me one of his OCS games instead. And I have not looked at this link, so we will see exactly what matchup this is. But thank you first to Dan for submitting me links. Always need good match links to showcase on the stream, to explain, strategy card interactions, and we always like to look at different deck types and things that people don't always get to see as often, so we can try to show the diversity in deck building and in the current meta formats and all that fun stuff. So if you have a link, you can reach me through Slack. You can PM me on the forums. You can email your link to store@starwarsccg.org, which I also manage, since I manage the Players Committee store. So however you want to reach out to me, you can post it in one of the threads on the forums as well, in my particular individual topic, which, if you're not familiar with, is right here in the general discussion. I probably should sticky this, but here's my Twitch game review series. You could just post it in there, your game link, and say, hey, Google, and review my link. And then maybe your link will end up on this spreadsheet, which was handily created by rsersen, where you can find details about all of my shows and the link to the YouTube video after I moved it over to my personal YouTube page after the show. So if you're looking for a profit deck, you can, and they're all in chronological order of what the episode number was and what decks we looked at. So you can find it all right here. So you're like, oh, I want to know, has anyone played Dark Deal recently? Well, bam, right there. There you go. Here's a YouTube link. You can get some information about what a Dark Deal build may or may not look like. It's all right here. Very easy to find. For some reason, these are not hyperlinks. That's interesting. Oh, maybe because these weren't regular shows. Okay. But yeah, we got all kinds of interesting things going on here. You can find out who won, the players involved. If you're preparing for a GEMPC opponent, have they played in an OCS match or something? Or that Gogolin may have featured recently in the last few months. Maybe I can get some strategy advice on my opponent. GEMP teaches everyone the rules. Absolutely. I know how to lose by less. It just sucks when you play Diplo against Court and do not have guts in your deck. Well, you gotta have guts. No guts, no glory. My show is fuzzy. Is it just, I don't know, anybody else experiencing fuzziness? Or is it just Dan? I'm going to guess it's just Dan. Yes, the benefit of GEMP, of course, is it does teach everyone the rules. Well, it makes you play within the rules. It doesn't necessarily teach you the rules. It just doesn't let you do things that you can't. You may still not have any idea why you can or can't do these things, as we often see happens with people all the time, when they're like, why can't I do this? Like, I have the card, it says target this ship. It's like, well, something in the game is preventing you from targeting that ship, unless, of course, the game is just broken, which is like a 1% chance that there's always that possibility too. So let's take a look at this game from Dan. Thank you for submitting the link, and I'm sure Ryan, since he's featured in it, will make sure it's updated on the Excel spreadsheet shortly, once I get her over to YouTube and have the replay link available. So let's see what we got. We got Throne Room and Black Sun. Oh no, it's 2017 Worlds, or 18 Worlds all over again. All right, maybe not. Maybe we got something new here. Well, we got Side Tour. That's a start. We've got According to My Design. That's a start. And that's not a start. So he's going Imperial Decree, Shadows, and Wipe. Yep. So According to My Design, great starting. Interrupt, especially if you think Throne Room is even remotely popular in your area. Just Dan. Okay, good. Let's make this bigger. You just need to refresh, Dan. Maybe you got a weak internet connection. So, so According to My Design, good starting interrupt, alternate start. start Emperor at your site, even if it's converted, up to 3 effects that deploy for free, so you still get your same 3 effects as if you use prepared defenses. Light side goes first is the downside to it. So you get the Emperor, they get to go first. Well, if you're playing against Throne Room, they get to go first anyway. So while it is a dead card if you're not playing against Throne Room, because it doesn't do anything else other than be a starting interrupt, it's the first card you lose to a Force Drain when you come across it. At least that's a Destiny 4, so it's not like it's hurting you too badly if you should draw it for Destiny mid-game. But it does let you get the Emperor out right away and for free, which is certainly a good benefit. And, maybe now if you're running some senses in your deck and they want to do like, oh, I'm going to go speak for the Jedi Council Chamber, and you're like, no. You've got a guy who's ability 7 on the table who can actually stop that. So some certainly good strategy comes off of using according to my design, other than just, oh, I play it against Throne Room. It's like, well, why do you play it against Throne Room? I've seen decks also use this and give your opponent to start, because just starting the Emperor on the table in certain matchups can also be beneficial. So, and that would be part of the reason why. If you're trying to guarantee getting him out early, if you want to have the ability to sense those opening hand activation pullers, which can throw your opponent off quite a bit, like in this particular matchup, if your opponent plays Wisa and you sense it, now they're digging for some activation for a turn or two while you're getting yours out. It can give you the head start, let you kind of entrench yourself on your Coruscant sites enough to make it harder for your opponent to be able to counterattack you the way Throne Room likes to do. So, some good advantages to according to my design at the low cost of letting your opponent go first. All right, it's a reasonable cost of letting your opponent go first. If you're not outside of a Throne Room matchup, it's a pretty good cost. And this, there's no cost to it. Your opponent's going first anyway, so very strong card. All right, so light side's going to go first, and let's see what they got. So Ryan's got a home 1 docking bay. He's got a 3PO. Okay. I'll let him start cycling some cards, try and find some activation. And he is going to pull Do or Do Not to help punish for the senses. Now, Imperial Decree will offset that, because it just says whenever you lose force, may reduce loss to a minimum of 1. So it's not except when it's your card battle damage or a force drain. So the Do or Do Not shield makes you lose 2. Imp Decree can reduce that to 1. So lose the sense and 1 force instead of 2. If you're playing 2 or 3 senses in your deck, I can certainly save you a couple of force throughout the course of the game, especially in a key moment when you might need every card that you have, and does let you cancel something very important, like right now canceling a Speak with the Jedi Council to pull the JCC would be pretty huge. It'd be huge. Huge. It's going to be huge. Like right now. If Dan had a sense and sensed that, Ryan would be stuck activating 5 for a couple of turns. But now he gets a nice 3-force jump, and that's fairly significant. I will say there is an interesting strategy line to consider here. If you're Dan, standard play is you use this, you get your Vigo, you get your battleground site, you move over and you start put pressure on your opponent and start causing some ping damage. The other option, because Throne Room doesn't really play many battlegrounds of its own, really just their boss, either they float like the lower corridor or they play like the Naboo battle planes. The potential option would be to move everybody into the Jedi Council Chamber. See if you can force your opponent either to deploy some guys to this non-battleground site where they're not going to be able to do any damage, or you get a free drain of 3, because in order for them to play the simple tricks to shut down your force drains, they have to occupy at least one battleground to do it, and there are currently no battlegrounds on the table. So, if they had a Tanev or something, they could go there, but otherwise, he's playing that Wisa, and he's maybe getting the Boss Nash Chamber, or he's getting the battle planes, which he doesn't want. So there certainly was the potential consideration. Now the downside to that is, of course, is then you have to walk back through these non-battleground sites when you need to get to your prince's site. But if you never put them out until your opponent puts out the battle planes, you also have the possibility. Let's see, this one's exterior. You could move out and then Ellis to try and jump over a few spots, but Dan's going to go with the tried and true method, and he's just going to play it safe, pull his battleground, and slowly move his guys over. He can see that in his force pile he has one of his sites and an Ellis in Hinthra. The other guys move for free. The Emperor has to pay for. He did not pull his other sites. One of them was active, but he did not get the other one. This is a strategy I've discussed on previous shows where against a matchup like this, sometimes if you only have the one battleground out, you're kind of what's the word I'm thinking of? Funneling. You're kind of funneling your opponent. Oh, he got his site. I see he's not even playing the Naboo battle planes. He's got the lower corridor. But if you only have your one battleground out and you kind of stack it up like this, you kind of funnel your opponent into this one particular location. And if you're pretty well entrenched in there and you've got a guy like Forlom and stuff like that who can cancel somebody's game text, that does really limit the scope of what your opponent can do, especially with the bounty as well. But Ryan found his battleground site, so he does go over here. This is the particular site that says your characters with lightsabers are each power +2 here. It's a 1-2, but it's an interior. It's a mobile, so you're protected by rescue in the clouds. At least some of your smaller guys are. EPPs get a nice little power bump, whether you got Rey or Obi or Qui-Gon. They're a nice little power boost there, and as well as Luke. And if you're running Side Tour now, you probably have Anakin's lightsaber. So it seems to be the way people are going now with Luke's lightsaber, Anakin's lightsaber. Then you just play like 3 or 4 Lukes, 2 Reys, maybe 1 or 2 Anakins, since it can go on either of them. And then whatever particular Leia you also happen to need. But this is the new Luke, who we've also seen. Incredibly powerful card. First off, power +1 for each Dark Jedi, so okay, that might come into play. If drawn for Destiny, you can take into hand, cancel, and redraw that, so you get Luke into hand and you get a new Destiny draw. If you combo this up with Savrip, as we've seen in the past, you just took into hand a character that you can then forfeit for 9. Certainly soaks up quite a bit of damage. His weapon Destiny draws are +1 each. That's really strong. Makes it much more likely that Luke's going to hit whoever he's swinging at, and they have to use the force to fire the weapon back at him. So very strong card, a good addition to the meta. Kind of rotate out some of those Jedi Lukes and give people access to an affordable version of Luke. I think this guy goes for about $6, as opposed to Jedi Luke, who's about $100 card on average, depending on condition. So good combo there. He's a recent errata card, so even though he is set 0, this new text just came out about a month ago. And then he uses the new side tour, which just says once per turn, download a matching weapon on your unique character present at a site. Doesn't have to be just deployed, doesn't have to be this turn. So you deploy Luke, you look for the lightsaber, it's not there. So next turn you can try again. Definitely a good change. Certainly seeing more side tour decks. We haven't seen a lot of Blaster Rack decks for Dark Side yet, though. They're still relying basically on I Am Your Father to give Vader his lightsaber, and then EPP, Mauls, Maras, etc. We haven't seen it be as beneficial for Dark Side. But then again, Darkseid doesn't have another weapon, kind of like Leia's gun. They have some repeating guns, which I'm curious to see if they'll make a splash in the meta at some point. Because like Dr. E and then matching and pulling his repeating blaster rifle could certainly shoot down 4 or 5 guys pretty easily if you had the force to spend on it. It's a rather expensive weapon, but I'm sure we'll see that in one of Kendall's bad deck breakdowns in the near future. Maybe he'll focus something with some matching repeating blaster guys. All right, he's going to back Luke up with Padme. She's going to add a destiny to attrition. Dan's going to draw the top card with shadows. During the move phase, it happens to be one of his other sites. Then he shuffles his reserve deck, trying to take a Force Lightning into hand, but he just put the Force Lightning in his used pile. So he just kind of shuffled his deck. Luke being out of sight also flips the objective back. The answer to your question is always yes, Chris Kelly. All right. So he gets the one site out. Now we got a Greedo. Now we got a Boba Fett bounty hunter. He's going to get hit with a barrier. And this is where a key sense comes into hand. Could save the day. Because otherwise, this was going to be pretty bad, especially when one of these two gets hit with the sorry about the mess. I think Greedo has to in that instance. And then made lost. And then Boba Fett sitting here by himself, not drawing any destiny. So he has to lose 2. He uses Decree. He reduces the loss to 1. And he loses the imbalance from the used pile, which is the card that he drew for Destiny. The barrier is now canceled. No worries. Stay tuned, folks, because after this game, design advocate Chris Kelly has just given me some card texts to spoil. Ooh. From a card in the upcoming set. All right, so we got 3 Battle Destiny over here. Boba Fett adding 2 with the Bounty Hunter plus enough ability. And so far, Dan's off to a good start, drawing 2 Emperors. So he's got 2 Emperors and a Cold Feet for a whopping 17. Pretty sure he's going to win this battle. The other thing, of course, that Greedo does is opponent must first use 1 force to fire a weapon. So how do you like it, Luke? You're not swinging at anybody. The downside of this, of course, is... Okay, so that was high enough. I was going to say, the downside, of course, to this is if he had drawn 2 low destinies, well, then he might be forced into a situation where he has to lose Greedo and then send Fett out of play or something, or lose force to send him to the used pile to get him off the table, especially without having a Gick in his hand. But luckily, both destinies were enough that Dan could forfeit both guys. So a well-earned site clear here with a Boba Fett and a Greedo and a sense. The sense being the key thing, because without the sense, that interaction would have gone considerably different. So Dan's going to go ahead and peek. He's got Ig and Zuckuss in his force pile, so those are withdrawn. He also used the text to peek at a top card of his reserve deck during the battle phase and saw that it was Django. So he knows that when he uses Wipe on his opponent's turn, he's going to activate Django. And then when he uses Shadows to draw that card into hand, he's going to have another strong character to work with. So good deck manipulation so far from Dan. Recycling the Force Lightnings around. Hey, it's Luke number 2. It looks like he's going to look for lightsaber number 2. Oh, he's going to give him Anakin's. Okay. So Anakin's goes on Anakin, Luke, or Rey. So that's the particular difference in this one. This one does not go on Leia. And it's Padme number 2. It's like these guys never left. And he'll also pull Battle Plan, which surprisingly neither player had pulled. Did Dan miss a Force Drain last turn? Did he just assume it was out? Oh no, he did Force Drain. Force Drain for free. Caused 1 Force loss, and he top decked the Hoojix. Missed that while I was yammering on. That's a pretty important get, too. Getting that Hoojix in the loss pile. Or as Dan would call it, Ho Jinx. Just adding an N and an E in there. Yeah. Didn't we just leave this party? Exactly, Jared. Looking at Dan's hand, it's going to go a little bit differently this time around. He's got the Django. He's got Ig. So he's got some stuff to work with here. So Django adds a Battle Destiny if he's with opponent's Jedi, which he would. Could also use him targeted by hidden weapons. Iggy over here adds Destiny if he's alone or with another bounty hunter. There's the off chance he could draw high enough as well as capture Padme and then just dump her to the use pile just to get her out of the battle. So these two would give you 2 Battle Destiny, and if you pair them up with any other character, that would get you a 3rd Battle Destiny just on ability. Because Django's ability 3, so he doesn't draw by himself. But like Afra, Ig, and Django, the only problem is that costs 12 Force to do it. Or like, yeah, Banis or Dengar or whatever. As all that costs 12 Force, which Dan currently does not have available to him. But he did just pick up No Escape. And that's going to be pretty huge because No Escape taking Boba Fett back into hand certainly could, lather, rinse, repeat what we've just seen previously. Ryan did save a Force this time. Dan's not going to drain. He's going to just go get his sight wisely. He'll No Escape and get that Boba Fett back into hand. Boba Fett? Boba Fett, where? Yep. So, you're going to go Django, going to go Boba, and going to pray that he doesn't have another barrier with that last Force. He's certainly not going to clash in this situation with only 1 Force left. Sorry about the mess, could be brutal if he hits Django. Now that he can swing. So if he hits Django and sorry's about the messes, Dan goes from drawing 4 Battle Destiny to drawing 0 Battle Destiny. Making this a high-risk, high-reward play. Ryan's got 7 cards in hand. He's been cycling through stuff with 3PO for a little while. No, sorry about the mess. Whew, breathe a sigh of relief there. See if he can draw as well as he did. That's an excellent start. Certainly the benefit of playing this Black Sun deck with 4 or 5 Emperors in it is when you start drawing 6s for Battle Destinies, or double 6s for Battle Destinies. So that's enough right there to clear. Unlikely to cause any overflow in this situation, unless Lightside draws very poorly, as these two cover 16 and forfeit. Plus he's got a Destiny draw of his own. So what's that, 17 total? So even if Ryan drew a 1 here, he's down by exactly 16. And he's fine. He could have squeezed Dengar out and shot one of these guys. Shot Padme, made her forfeit 0. Could have put a beat down on Luke there. Caused some overflow, but... So a forfeit Django. He'll get the other Boba Fett out of his deck. One of the other perks that Django has, making his game text pretty solid. Both light side characters will die. They are now out of lightsabers. Leia's blaster rifle we did just see, so that's still floating around in there. Those are the 3 weapons you typically see these days off of throne room style Cytor builds. Prophet kind of usually uses about the same 3 weapons. So Dan's certainly in an advantageous position at the moment. Oh, and there's his Phalene's Fist. And now he'll put the Force Lightning back and use the objective. And the Gick is the next card, so that's certainly one worth drawing. Jasper's also a pretty good guy to get, so I could see him picking him up as well. And he does. And he can activate one here with Shadows. I'm sorry, with Wipe. That's the Fist that he just verified. So now if he uses Shadows, he'll have the other ship. He's in a pretty solid spot here. Ryan's down 2 Lukes, and he's out of, well, he's got Leia's blaster available, which he's going to go get now. But Leia's going to need some backup. He's got Cassian. So he goes to 2 battlegrounds to get around Coward, so he can then put Walkling out of play to retrieve the Anakin's lightsaber. Certainly a clever move by Ryan to get around that. It's not overly clever, but it's a clever move. That's not something that is inherent to newer players. There's always, of course, the risk that one of them gets barriered, but if that happens, you just move the other one. So, if Cassian got barried and we're stuck here, well, then Leia just goes this way, as opposed to him moving to her. So, it may seem a little bit risky on play. On paper, you're like, oh god, I'm deploying Cassian. What if he gets barriered and he's stuck there? It's like, well, the other one's not barriered. It's like that old riddle, I've got 2 coins that add up to 25 cents and one of them isn't a nickel, or whatever. Or add up to 30 cents and one of them isn't a nickel. Alright. Now Dan is flipped here, so now he gets to verify his entire force pile. So we're going to pause it here for a second so we can think about this and dig a little deeper into the strategy. Alright, so he's got these guys here. He can pay 3 to drain for 1. That would spend these 3 cards. Not necessarily cards that he needs, but doesn't really get him a big benefit for doing it. So I wouldn't recommend it. Instead, what he's more likely to do in this case is he can spend 6 on the Fist and 3 on this guy, and that gets him a pretty solid setup for 9. He could also add Ellis and Hinthra if he wanted to for a little extra boost in power and giving him more forfeit options as well. That would cost him 13. That basically gets him down through these. 9 gets him to here. Then he could draw the Force Push and Cad Bane. Or he could spend 13 and get all the way through these, and then draw the Lana Do Breed combo, and then leave that Emperor there. And then verify, of course, this, and then activate it with Wipe like he's been doing for the last couple turns. Not a lot in this section of cards here that are necessary. It would be nice to have a sense in hand, but not necessarily a critical need. So I could definitely see him setting up space this turn, especially given these options in here. He already has a Gick. Doesn't necessarily need that. Doesn't need more Emperors, and these characters would be decent, but yeah, there's not a lot of stuff that Bosk hits these days. Very good against Watch Your Step. The new Solo, triggering extra destinies. Maybe, but there's more than enough ways between Lando and Hera and whatnot, and Poe, for light side to get multiple destinies in space without smugglers or Wookiees. Because that certainly would be an option too. If he hasn't done it already this turn, he could spend 9, deploy the Fist. I'm sorry, 6 for the Fist. That gets him to there. And then spend 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, that doesn't quite do it. I was going to say he can spend 4 and deploy Ellis Hellrot, and then he still has 1 or 2 down. Say if you use Shadows then to pick up a card mid-turn, maybe you could deploy Bosk afterwards, but yeah, probably just end up. So recommending just loading up, get the Fist, and 2 other things out with it, whether it's Banis and Ellis most likely. Um, or what he wants to do from there. But of course, we'll start off with causing some force loss. We see a Luke's hand go off the top. Always nice to see Destiny 7 cards go off the top of your opponent's deck. So that's just the 1 force loss from the objective. He does not pay to drain. He does drop the Fist. He does drop the Banis Keeg. Banis lets you draw the top card of your reserve deck. Forgot that he does that. And he's going to put Jasper at one of the other sites. Interesting. Hang on, we're still looking at Banis Keeg here. Once per turn, if you just deployed a Black Sun agent to same system, draw top card of reserve deck. That's right, he did. She does do that. My apologies. And then he's going to drop Jasper in front of these 2 people. Well, that's certainly an interesting move. Especially with only 1 force left. Not sure what he's looking at there. Oh, he was trying to get the 3rd card for Shadows. Okay. So in order to do the Shadows ping, you need to occupy 3 battlegrounds. So he dropped Jasper in front here to get the 3rd battleground, so he could then pick up the card with Shadows, picks up the Sacrifice, and then Jasper and all Black Sun agents move to this site for free. So he just moved away. But he did cause 1 force loss in the interim, which forced his opponent to top deck solo, making Bosk even less valuable. The U3PO was on top. That would certainly be a card I know Dan would love to have right about now. U3PO with an O switch off, pretty strong. Pretty strong. Does not protect against Cornhorn, by the way. Because Cornhorn is not attempting to steal him. Cornhorn is attempting to break his cover. The result of which is that Darkside allows the droid to then be stolen. Alright. So Ryan is going to go ahead and pay to drain. Dan's going to lose the Ellis and Hinthra, and he's going to top deck a Gick. Now we got a Luke Last Jedi. But the lightsaber was not there. The Tanev is still in the reserve deck. We did get to verify that. There's Rey. She'll get a used pile pull. That will probably be a lightsaber going on one of them. Hey, look, it's Anakin's lightsaber, and that's going on Luke. All right, 3rd time's the charm. Can Dan cycle back any good interrupts? He's activating 16, so he can get most of the way through his deck. He could drop Boba Fett and Dengar and shoot Rey and then draw a bunch of Destiny and kind of outpower Overflow. But first things first, he'll get his drains in for free. Don't forget the Force drain, kids. There goes Ahsoka. All right, here's Boba Fett number 3. Oh, and now he's got the perimeter scan. So, what does perimeter scan do? Target opponents just deployed maintenance cards. Target may not battle or allow opponent to download cards for remainder of turn. So this stops any maintenance card. Darkside's 2 most popular being Boba Fett and Blizzard 4. This also prevents Blizzard 4 from downloading cards for the rest of the turn. So that would leave Blizzard 4 kind of hung out to dry. So, Mr. Boba Fett here is not going to be able to participate in battle this turn. He will use the text and he will retrieve. I'm going to guess he took Django. Django or Greedo, I think were the only two options in there. He took Greedo. Interesting. I would have expected him to possibly take Django, because Django would add a Destiny with Luke. And he could go Django Dengar, shoot Rey, draw 2 Battle Destiny, and try and outmatch Luke depending on, what's in there. But in this case, he's going to do the, well, again, because Greedo fortunately has the text that says, sorry about the mess, must target him. So this isn't a terrible play. If Ryan has a clash, this could end up not working out so well. Because he could clash Boba and then battle and then hit Ig and then sorry about the mess in the battle and get rid of him. And then it's just going to end up having to kick the whole battle and would have lost everybody. But again, that relies on light side having some tricky cards, and we haven't seen those thus far in this game. They're typically in there, so you got to think they're in there somewhere, right? Oh, and instead we're going to see Ryan go to space. He finally got his Tantive. 3PO'd into it. We've got Anakin, we've got Lando. He's got 2 Battle Destiny here. This would have been why I cautioned earlier about having just Bannis. I mean, I know this thing, yeah, he drew a 4. This thing's immune to less than 8. Light side drawing 2 Destiny, especially Anakin now adding 1 to each of them. It's a pretty good chance he's going to get both. So that's a 5 and a 4. That's 9. He's riskily going to use Jedi Lev for Corran Horn. Hopefully Ryan knows what these cards are. He's been tracking around since he's been using 3PO. But wow! Talk about your all-time backfires. So let's take a second and analyze what just happened here. Unless you are 100% certain what the rest of these cards are, when you draw Destiny that's enough to crack your opponent's immunity to attrition, do not redraw it. He had a 5. He drew a 4 with Corran. That's 9. This thing's only immune to less than 8. Bannis doesn't cover that much, so he's losing the whole thing right now. And now he's got to find a way. He's already lost Alice and Hinthra, to come back and come over the top of a Tantive with Anakin sitting on it with, a limited force, and kind of shuts down his opponent's drains and a whole lot of what's going on here. By redrawing that Destiny, now he unluckily drew a 1. But now his total battle Destiny is only 7. Like we said, the ship is immune to less than 8. So Dan doesn't have to lose anything if he doesn't want to. And we'll see what he draws here, and we'll know what's going on with that. And he draws an Emperor. So they're going to tie in total power. 15 all. Dan's going to lose nothing. Lando's going to go. I'm sure we're going to end up seeing Cassian shuttle up here. Oh, he's going to go the other way. Okay, he's going to move away from everybody. Yeah, I guess with only 2 force left, he kind of has to. And Dan will pick up a Never Yalnal. So we'll get drains of 1 and 1. I would expect to see Zuckuss and Bosk get deployed to Coruscant, giving him a lot more power and forfeit. Maybe just throw Bosk and Afra, or just throw Bosk in as a pilot on this to give you more power and the additional forfeit. Because with only one Destiny, Anakin's not going to crack 8. Well, I guess technically he could. Relatively unprotected might still be floating around in there somewhere. Um, oh, he's got Tarkin's Bounty. Original concept by Dtartag. So plenty of options to pick there. He chooses Cold Feet. I guess thinking he's going to go for the Resistance. Oh, I wouldn't have done it with just Zuckuss. Throw Bosk on there too. Get some extra power, some extra forfeit. Guarantee you cause enough damage. I mean, right now you've just done enough to get rid of Anakin, but you haven't cleared the Tantive. You're just basically just suiciding Zuckuss. He's your forfeit fodder. Oof, there's that Anakin again. Yeah, I was thinking his testing was going to be 0, but it worked for me. Yeah, there were certainly quite a few options of other cards in there to take for Cold Feet. I would have taken U-3PO. Block the drain for a turn. Make him spend his force deploying Core and Horn. If he's sorry about the mess him, you just O-switch off it, and then you put his 6 back. Yeah, then he's got to spend his turn deploying Core and Horn. Then you play Never Yalnal and kill Core and Horn, and then these guys are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Literally. But that's just what I would have done. Okay, so we're doing your subscription for month number 14. Thank you very much, sir. Quit slacking off. Go play your OCS games. You're losing to Dan. You're going to have to wear a Pittsburgh jersey. Alright, so there's the Cold Feet drawn for Destiny to cancel the Jedi Lev. That was attempting to retrieve a character. And he's going to lose the Never Yalnal from hand. Yep, see now Cornhorn's going to space. Otherwise, you would have had to put Cornhorn on the ground and then shuttle him up. But then you would have had the ability to use the Never Yalnal. So just a different line of play. I have a feeling this is still going to work out in Dan's favor. He's pretty far ahead in this game. There's Cassian moving up as well. And Obi going wide out to the other site over there to get an extra drain bonus. Ooh, that's a 6 sitting on top. All right. If only he had something that would prevent it from getting canceled. So there's the 1 force loss from Shadows. He picks up another Vigo. He could easily just throw Vigo and Bosk over there and, try and clear Obi. Again, you're running into the sorry about the mess problem, but first things first, let's get some force drains. There goes a Jedi's concentration. There goes a Luke from hand. There goes a Hear Me Baby. Yeah, there's Vigo. There's Bosk. You're getting to the point in time, too, where you're also thinking about Afra to the Jedi Council Chamber. Oh, and there's Guri going to space aboard the Fist. However, that's not going to leave him with enough force to battle and pay Boba Fett's maintenance cost. So Guri's going to have to come back. He could throw down Dengar. Oh, I think he broke it. I think our link broke when they did the revert. Well, Dan, how did the rest of this game go? I'm undefeated with only playing one game. Yep. I'm worried about the Black Sun GEMP bug. Yes, there are some. There's always been bugs with Black Sun. I heard one happened the other day as well, where the Prince couldn't draw Destiny or something. That happened yesterday or something. I'm not sure what the game situation was, but there are always that phantom bug floating around where suddenly your Black Sun agents just stop being Black Sun agents. Um, but Dan, how'd this game turn out for you? We'll get some updates in the chat, which I'll relay to you viewers who may be watching this later on YouTube. I'm going to guess, looking at the board state, Dan's going to win this game. Um, if he can clear, I mean, he's not really, he's doing 2 damage on a drain here. He's doing drains of 1 and 1 back, plus the Shadow's ping. So he's actually causing 3 damage a turn to his opponent's 2. Um, and he's slightly ahead on life force. At some point in the near future, Afra is very likely to end up over here at the Jedi Council Chamber, tacking on 3 more damage. Light side's pretty low on characters. They've kind of used most, if not all of them, at this point. So I feel confident in saying that unless he screws up royally, Dan ended up winning this game. Let's check out what's in the chat. Cleared Obi, moved the Vigo up to the Fist. He battled, and I eventually got rid of the Tantive. So you cleared Obi with this battle here. You drew the 6. He hit one of your guys, cleared you back. And then you shuttled the Vigo up to the Fist to give you some extra power and forfeit. There was a battle ensued here. Eventually the Tantive, because it doesn't have any place to go, kind of runs out of pilots. And then Dan pulled out the win. All right. Well, thank you very much, Daniel, for sharing the replay link. Let's go ahead and see what's going on back in the old GEMP lobby. Oh, actually, before we do that, we're going to get to our spoiler. I did promise we would have a spoiler coming up after this game. So, I'm going to read this first. After losing P-59, I sent Afra to the JCC. He dropped Chewie there. I used the bounty to make sure he can't battle. I sent P-59 down, battled, did not shoot. He shot and sorry comboed P-59. Why didn't Yo switch off that? I put out of play the decree and got rid of Chewie. He then conceded. Gotcha. Okay, well, congratulations on the win. All right, so let's see what we got here for a dark side spoiler. First, thanks to Chris Kelly for sharing this with us and allowing us to feature it on the show this week. Switch off was lost at that point. Oh. Alrighty then. As he's getting ready for his game where he's going Hitco against Taco Bell's Huntdown. Uh-oh, that should be interesting. So, let me refresh this. See if I missed anything. All right, it is a dark side card. It is an effect. All right, please hold a second here, because I want to pull up the current card. To see how much it differs. So, the card I'm able to spoil is Despair. You can't see the errata version. Um, the text picture doesn't work anyway. So this card is getting slightly tweaked in the tweak set. So you still deploy it on table. At same site as Jabba's Prize. Opponent's characters are deploy +1, so this stays the same. But your force drains are +1. So that gives it a little boost. So you get an extra force drain bonus wherever Jabba's Prize is. Your force drains at same battleground site. So that was already on there. So this text just kind of got cleaned up a little bit and consolidated quite a bit, which should hopefully give it some room to add new text. When you capture a character, opponent loses 1 force. That text is gone now. This is still there. My favorite decoration may not be placed out of play, so that keeps the CCT objective once it's flipped. It can't get placed out of play, which stays the same. While Jabba's Prize, with Scum and Villainy, your total power in all battles is +3. So you get kind of an EBO-like effect out of it, giving a benefit to Jabba's Prize CCT Scum decks. So instead of this, when you capture a character, opponent loses 1 force, you get, while Jabba's Prize and Scum and Villainy together, your total power is +3 in all battles. That's everywhere. So it's a nice little universal bonus. The drain thing was battleground site before, now it's any site. At same site as Jabba's Prize. The characters deploy +1, force drains are +1. Okay, so Ig picking him up and staying at the security tower for a turn or two would get you the deploy +1 and would still let you force drain for 1. Okay, so that's a nice little tiny adjustment that makes it stronger until you're ready to move over. And then, like we said, you get the power bonus of the power +3 in all battles, while Jabba's Prize and Scum and Villainy together. So it's not that hard to do. It's pretty easy, actually, with some of the cards that have come out in recent sets. We've seen a couple CCT flip decks recently. So that should certainly give that deck a little bit of a bump up. And the security, I think it's only if you use the starting interrupt. If any method necessary was just played, you can upload Despair. So if you do the any method start to get Ig or whoever into hand, or whatever, you can take Despair into hand immediately from the security tower's text. So that'll give you a way to kind of get that engine up and running. Pardon me. Swallowed a little too much air there along with all that water. So that's an interesting little spoiler. Thank you very much, Chris Kelly, for allowing us to share that. Let's see. Make sure there's nothing else that I missed. Okay. So that's always appreciated. We love getting spoilers on the show. And thank you guys for tuning in and sticking with us. We'll see if we have any. There's an open game And then, well, we've got a playtesting game that we're not going to look at. Maybe that's Despair getting playtested. JagTech does like to play CCT. No, but he's playing light this game. We've seen a lot of Hitco Hunt Down, so we're not going to hop into this particular game. But you know what? Let's go for it. Since Chris Kelly was nice enough to share, we'll take a peek and see what's going on with his game against Bill. Doesn't look like things got off to the great start. Well, they both have only a couple cards in the lost pile. Hunt Down's flipped here. So we got turn 2. We got Evader, Lightsaber, Blizzard 4, Visage doing its thing. It's kind of what it looks like. But we're still pretty early on in this game. We'll see if Chris has any answers or if he's just gonna. Uh-oh. There's an Endor docking bay and a foil one at that. So now we've got Ahsoka going to the site that you can't deploy vehicles to. That'll flip the hunt down objective back. There is not a matching weapon. Well, he's using like my father anyway for Luke, which Hitco can do because it starts the site on table. But there's not a matching weapon for Ahsoka yet. I think she can just use the other. I don't even know if she can use the Jedi lightsaber, the non-unique one. She might be able to. I'd have to look and see what the specifics were on that one. And then he's just going to draw a couple cards. So Chris is going to take it nice and easy, nice and slow here. You guys can feel free to join the other 10 people already watching this game. I'm sure that's more than half of you in this channel. We're going to go ahead and wrap up tonight's show. Thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you learned a few things as always. Thank you guys again for watching and supporting the show. Feel free to send me some game links, preferably for some, interesting deck matchups, things we don't see all the time, like Hunt Down and Hitco, throwing them in Black Sun, that kind of stuff. There's certainly a little bit more diversity these days with some of the new cards from set 12 that we got to see. And good luck to you. Get your OCS games in. If you're in the GEMPC, good luck in your matchups. And we'll see you back here next Monday. So you guys take it easy and enjoy your week.